The night sits quiet above the open channel. Rain drifts in a thin, gentle line, soft enough to blur the horizon. Your small wooden boat moves without hurry, carried by a steady ocean breath that feels older than any map you've ever followed. A low swell rises beneath you, then settles again, like the sea is matching your own slow inhale. Far off, a pale shape waits on the water, an island you've only heard mentioned in half-finished stories from sailors who rarely spoke of it twice. You keep your hands on the worn tiller. The wood is cool, smooth from years of weather and salt. Each little wave nudges the boat toward that faint outline ahead, as if the tide itself wants you to arrive. Above everything, the moon hangs in a soft veil of cloud. Its silver glow spills across the surface, turning each ripple into a quiet shimmer that seems to light your path without trying. You don't rush. You simply breathe, letting the rhythm of the water slow the noise inside you. Whatever brought you out here tonight can wait. For now, there is only the rain, the sea, and the patient pull of the island calling you closer with every mile. The boat glides a little closer, and the outline of the island sharpens through the drifting rain. The shoreline begins to glow, subtle, silver, quiet, like the night itself is opening a doorway just for you. A soft thud of the hull against shallow sand tells you you've arrived. You breathe in the cool air, let it settle in your chest, and step toward the place you've been drifting toward all night. The island waits, and chapter 1 begins the moment your boots touch its silver grass. The first step onto the shore feels almost weightless. Rain has settled into the sand, leaving a thin mirror of water that catches the moon and scatters it in soft, broken reflections. Ahead of you, long blades of coastal grass sway in a steady rhythm. Each one shines with a pale silver tint, as if the night brushed them with its own quiet light. They whisper in the wind, their soft rustle blending with the gentle push of the tide behind you. You take a few unhurried steps forward, letting your boots sink slightly into the damp earth. The ground is cool, firm, and welcoming in a way you didn't expect. Salt air drifts across your face, carrying the scent of sea foam and distant heather. For a moment, you simply stand still. The journey you made across the channel lingers behind you like a long exhale. Here, the noise inside you drops to a softer level, just enough to notice how the island seems to breathe with its own slow, steady cadence. The silver grass bends again as the wind shifts, almost as if nodding to you, urging you farther inland. And with the moonlight resting on your shoulders, you follow the faint path that forms between the glistening blades, drawn deeper into the island's quiet welcome. The path guides you deeper into the field, its edges fading into gentle shadows where the silver grass grows taller. Rain softens into a fine mist, hardly more than a cool brush against your cheeks. Each step sounds muted, like the ground is choosing to hold your footsteps instead of echoing them back. A faint glow flickers between the moving blades. Not bright, not magical, just a quiet shimmer. The way moonlight sometimes pools in low places near the sea. When you crouch slightly to look closer, you notice tiny beads of water clinging to the grass, each one catching the moon in its own small way, turning the field into a scatter of soft, shifting lights. The air here feels gentler than on the shore, warmer almost, like the island is pulling you toward its center, away from the winds that chased you across the channel. You draw a slow breath, letting the warmth spread through your chest before letting it go again. Somewhere ahead, a bird calls, a single low note that drifts across the field, then fades into the night. The sound isn't a warning. It's more like a reminder that you're not alone on this quiet stretch of land. Other travelers, human or otherwise, have walked through this same silver path before you. The thought brings a steady calm to your steps. As you move farther in, the grass begins to part on its own, revealing a narrow rise in the earth. Beyond it, the land curves upward toward the first ancient structure you've seen since landing. A line of weathered stones, half buried, pointing toward the heart of the island. The silver blades bend once more in the wind, almost urging you on. And with that gentle nudge, you step toward the stones, ready to see what waits beyond the shimmering field. The stones rise slowly from the earth as you approach, each one worn smooth by rain, time, and the steady breath of the sea. Their edges catch the moonlight in thin, ghost silver lines, forming a gentle guide toward the heart of the island. Behind you, the silver grass bends in the wind one last time, as if giving a small farewell. Ahead, the land narrows toward a place where the tide has shaped its own secret path through the centuries. The air shifts, cooler now, carrying the scent of wet stone and distant surf. You follow the pull of the night, stepping toward the ancient way that appears only for those who arrive at the right moment, in the right kind of quiet. Chapter 2 begins where the shore gives way to old memory. The first stones of the tidal path sit half buried in shallow water, each one rounded by years of waves rolling over them. A thin layer of moonlit tide slips across their surface, retreating just enough for you to see the next step ahead. You pause at the edge, watching the water breathe around the stone. It rises, falls, rises again, slow and patient, like the island is deciding whether to show you the way When the tide lowers once more, you step forward, letting the cool water wash around your ankles. The stones feel steady beneath your feet, even as the ocean laps at their sides. Small pools collect in narrow cracks, catching the moon in quiet pieces, turning the path into a ribbon of soft reflection that leads inland. Each step makes a muted sound, a dull tap swallowed instantly by the sound of the sea. You move carefully, not out of fear, but out of respect. This path has been shaped by centuries of tide, never hurried, never forced, always returned to its place. There's a kind of wisdom in that steady rhythm, and it settles into your chest as you walk farther along the stones. Faint carvings emerge, spirals, waves, gentle arcs. They were worn almost smooth, but still visible enough to guide your eyes forward. Not warnings, just reminders that others passed here long before you, carried by the same quiet pull of the island. The tide retreats again, revealing more of the path ahead. You follow its lead, moving deeper between the stone, letting their ancient calm steady your own. The tide pulls back a little farther, revealing a longer stretch of stone ahead, each piece fitting into the next as though placed by the sea itself. You follow the line of them, the sound of water brushing along their edges, creating a calm, steady hush that fills the space around you. The island seems quieter here, more thoughtful, as if it has been waiting to show you this moment. A soft wind moves through the narrow channel on either side of the path. It carries hints of kelp and cool mineral air, the kind that rises from deep tide pools hidden just beyond sight. The breeze circles you gently, brushing away the tired edges of thoughts you haven't named in a while. As you continue, the markings on the stones grow clearer. Some spirals link into one another, forming a chain of slow turning curves. Others break apart into small wave patterns, echoing the rise and fall of the tide beside you. You run your fingers lightly across one of the carving, feeling where time has softened its ridges. The stone doesn't tell you what it means. It just invites you to keep moving. Ahead, the path begins to climb a slight incline, lifting you above the water's edge. From this height, you can see the channel behind you, a long silver trail stretching back toward the open sea where you first arrived. It looks softer from here, farther away, like a chapter already turning toward its final page. The stones warm slightly under your feet as you walk, holding the last traces of daylight even under the night sky. Their warmth settles into you, steadying your steps as the path narrows toward the rise. Above it, you see the faint outline of a cliff, sharp, listening, waiting. The wind moves once more across the stones, urging you forward. And with an easy breath, you leave the tidal path behind, climbing toward the place where the sea speaks in higher tones. The incline rises gently beneath your feet as the last stones of the tidal path fade into the earth behind you. The sound of water softens with each step upward, replaced by a broader hush. The open breath of the cliff waiting ahead. Moonlight stretches farther here, catching on pale lichen and wet rock, guiding you along the narrow trail that curves toward the height. With every few steps, the wind grows clearer, carrying a deep, distant rhythm from the waves breaking far below. You feel the shift before you see it. The land lifting, the sea widening, the night opening. Chapter 3 begins where the island asks you to listen. The cliff greets you with a long sweep of open air. A wide ledge stretches forward, worn smooth by decades of wind and rain. From here, the ocean looks endless, an unbroken sheet of silver black stretching into the dark, its surface lifted by slow, rolling breaths. You step closer to the edge, stopping at a safe, steady distance. The wind moves around you in quiet circle, brushing your shoulder, lifting the edges of your coat, carrying the clean scent of salt and cold stone. It feels less like weather and more like the island's way of acknowledging your presence. Down below, the waves rise in long arcs, folding into themselves with soft, muffled roars that echo up the cliffside. Each burst of sound lingers for a moment before fading into the next, forming a rhythm that's both powerful and strangely gentle. You find your breath matching it without trying. The moon slips out from behind a thin cloud, bathing the lead in a pale, calm glow. It softens the sharp lines of the rock, turning every edge into a slow curve. Even the shadows seem quieter here, settling into smooth shapes that shift with the wind. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sounds and the cool night air wash through you. Nothing demands your attention. Nothing pulls you forward or back. There's only the cliff, the sea, the wind, and the steady sense that this place has been waiting for someone who would simply listen. When you open your eyes again, the view feels wider, like the horizon has taken a deep breath with you. You stay on the ledge for a while, letting the wind shape the silence around you. It moves in slow currents tonight, never rushing, never pushing, just circling you with a calm, steady touch that feels almost thoughtful. When you breathe out, the cliff seems to breathe with you. Your exhale drifts into the open air, carried outward until it dissolves into the wide dark above the sea. It feels lighter, leaving your chest than it did arriving there. Below, a wave climbs higher than the rest, then folds into a soft crash against the rock face. The sound reaches you a moment later, deep and rounded, like a gentle drumbeat struck far underwater. Another follows, then another, a slow pattern, patient and ancient. You listen as the rhythm settles into your mind, smoothing out the small knots of worry that tend to gather near the end of a long day. Nothing dramatic happens. No revelation. Only a quiet sense that the island is giving you space to release something you've been carrying longer than you meant to. A faint draft brushes past your left side, guiding your eyes toward a narrow trail carved into the stone. It winds upward in soft curves, bordered by patches of moonlit moss. Some travelers might have missed it in the dark, but the cliff seems to direct your attention there. Subtle, gentle, without urgency. You take one last look at the open water. The horizon glimmers with muted silver, the kind that promises a calm night ahead. You let that sight settle inside you before turning toward the climb. The path waits, quiet and steady, and with an easy breath, you follow it upward, leaving the listening cliff to the night and the rising wind. The trail rises gently beneath your steps, carrying you away from the cliff's open breath. The wind softens behind you as the path curves toward a quieter part of the island. Moonlight follows along the stone, weaving thin silver lines across the ground, guiding you without urgency. Far ahead, a warm glow flickers through the mist, steady, calm, and unlike the cold shine of the moon, it stands alone on higher ground, just beyond a bend in the trail. The island feels different as you approach, more still, more knowing. Chapter 4 begins where that quiet flame waits. The lantern tower comes into view slowly, as if rising from the mist rather than standing in it. Its stone stones are weathered and dark, shaped by years of rain and salt. But the light inside glows with a warm, steady amber, not bright, not calling for attention, just a calm presence on the quiet ridge. You walk toward it, feeling the air shift around you. The wind eases into a soft, steady breath, carrying the faint scent of driftwood and old rope, reminders of places you've been and of journeys unfinished. Each step toward the tower feels measured, unforced, the kind of pace you settle into when you finally trust the path beneath you. The lantern's glow spills through a narrow window near the door, casting gentle shades onto the wet grass. They move with the breeze, slow, unhurried shadows that stretch and fold like memories drifting just out of reach. You rest a hand on the wooden door. Its surface is smooth from years of storms brushing past, warmer than you expected in the cool night air. For a moment, you linger there, listening to the quiet hum of the lantern inside. It's a soft sound, almost like the low thrum of a distant tide held within old stone walls. You breathe once, letting the calm settle through your shoulders. Then you push the door open, stepping into the warm glow, waiting for you on the other side. The warmth inside the tower settles around you almost instantly. It's a gentle kind of heat, the sort that travels slowly through the room before it reaches your skin. The lantern sits on a carved stone pedestal in the center, its flame steady, barely moving, as if the air around it was designed to keep it calm. The walls curve upward in smooth arcs, each stone marked by thin lines where rain once traced its path. Shelves made from weathered driftwood line one side of the room. They hold small objects left by travelers long before you. Tangled bits of rope, chipped pieces of shell, small carvings made from dark wood, and bundles of dried seagrass tied with faded string. None of them look valuable in the ordinary sense, but they feel intentional, placed with quiet hands by people who once carried more weight than they wished to keep. Each item seems to hold a story, a moment someone chose to set down rather than continue carrying. You step closer to the shelves. Your fingers hover above a smooth stone, etched with a single spiral, its grooves worn almost flat. Next to it lies a small wooden token carved into the shape of a wave. Tiny, simple, almost overlooked, yet somehow full of the same quiet steadiness as the tower itself. The lantern hums softly behind you, filling the room with a warm, rhythmic glow. It lights the objects without judging them, without asking where they came from or why someone chose to leave them here. The flame simply listens, just as the cliff did, just as the island has since your arrival. You take a slow breath, letting the calm settle deeper. Something inside you loosens, but you don't rush to name it. Not yet. For now, you just stand in the warm circle of light, letting the steadiness of the lantern remind you that travelers before you have found their own quiet here, and that you can too. You stand before the shelves for a long moment. The lantern's glow warms your back, steady and patient, as if giving you time to decide what you're ready to set down. Your hand drifts to your coat pocket almost on its own. There's nothing heavy inside it, no object with meaning, only the quiet weight of a thought you've been carrying for longer than you ever admitted to yourself. You close your fingers around that feeling, not to hold it tighter, but to acknowledge it. The part of you that tried to endure it. The part that didn't know when to let it rest. The part that stayed loyal to something long after it stopped being gentle. You breathe once, slow and full. Then you take a small step toward the shelves. There's an empty space near a piece of driftwood, polished smooth by countless tides. It's just big enough for something invisible, something only you would recognize. You lift your hand and place it there, palm down, fingers relaxed, letting that quiet weight leave you in its own time. Nothing dramatic happens, no sound, no shift in the room, just a soft release your chest, like a knob that finally loosens after years of being tied. You leave your hand there a moment longer, letting the warmth of the lantern settle around you. When you finally step back, the space on the shelf feels complete, not because of what you left, but because you chose to stop carrying it alone. The lantern flame bends gently, almost like a slow nod. You breathe again, easier than before, and the tower, quiet and warm, seems to exhale with you. You step out of the lantern tower, letting the cool night air meet your skin again. The warmth behind you fades slowly, settling into memory the way firelight lingers on closed eyes. The island feels different now, lighter, quieter, as if setting something down has opened a softer path ahead. A faint band of mist drifts along the rise beyond the tower. It moves like a slow tide rolling across the land, glowing gently under the moon's silver breath. There's no urgency in it, only invitation. You follow the curve of the trail as it leads toward that pale veil, each step guided by the calm you found inside the tower. Chapter 5 begins where the warm glow meets the moving mist. The mist gathers low across the ground, curling around stones and blades of grass, as if tracing the shape of the island. It doesn't rise high, just enough to blur the edges of the world, softening everything into gentle outlines. Moonlight slides across its surface, turning it into a thin river of silver drifting through the night. You walk slowly toward it, feeling the air cool with each step. The breeze that carried you up from the shore has quieted, leaving only a faint whisper that moves through the grass behind you. It's the kind of silence that feels intentional, an opening, a pause, a moment when the island wants you to notice how still things can be. The ground levels as you approach the first thin strands of mist. They thread around your boots, light as breath, brushing your legs with a cool touch before trailing away again. Nothing pulls you forward, yet you feel drawn in by the softness of it, the way it seems to drift with its own quiet purpose. You stop for a moment at the edge, letting the night settle around you. Above the mist, the sky looks clearer, the stars sharper, as if the veil helps the rest of the world come into focus. You take a slow breath, tasting salt and cold air and something faintly sweet, like damp heather warmed by moonlight. The mist moves gently at your feet, waiting without asking. And you stand there, steady and calm, ready to step further when your breath tells you it's time. You take another slow step, and the mist gathers a little thicker around you. It curls along your boots, then brushes softly against your hands, cool and weightless, like a passing thought that never fully formed. Each strand drifts upward, only to settle again, as if it's following its own gentle tide. The world grows softer the deeper you go. Shapes blur into outline. Edges dissolve. Sounds arrive, wrapped in a kind of hush that makes everything feel far away and strangely close at the same time. Even your own footsteps fade a moment after they land, absorbed into the stillness. The air shifts again, cool at first, then warmer, then somewhere in between. It changes without warning, but not in a way that startles you. It feels more like the island adjusting around you. making space for whatever you brought here and whatever you're ready to leave behind. A faint glow appears ahead, no brighter than moonlight glancing off wet stone. It flickers through the veil, steady and calm, giving the mist a soft, silvery heart. You walk toward it at an easy pace, guided by the way the glow moves with the drifting air. As you draw closer, the mist begins to rise just slightly, lifting at the edges, opening a narrow passage. You don't hear anything, but the quiet feels different now, deeper, more intentional, like the island is holding its breath just long enough to let you sense the road ahead. You pause one last time at the threshold where the veil begins to thin. The air is gentle against your skin. Your breath settles into a steady rhythm, and with the calm that has followed you since the tower, you step forward, ready to see what waits beyond the mist. The last curl of mist drifts away from your shoulders as you move forward. The air ahead clears slowly, as if the veil were exhaling you into a quieter part of the island. Your steps land softly on new ground, firmer, warmer, touched by a calm that feels deeper than anything you've walked through so far. Behind you, the mist settles back into its slow, tidal drift, closing the path without closing you off. It leaves you with the sense that you crossed exactly when you were meant to. The shapes ahead glow in muted silver, gentler than moonlight, steadier than the lantern's warmth. The night feels closer here, but not heavier, just settled, like a room after the last lamp has been dimmed. Chapter 6 begins where the world grows quiet enough to hear your own breath clearly. The ground beneath your feet feels different now, smooth, almost polished by countless tides of air. Each step makes only the faintest sound, a low whisper that blends into the gentle hush filling this side of the island. The landscape unfolds in soft curves ahead of you. No sharp lines, no sudden edges, just the calm rise and fall of earth shaped by wind and quiet years. Even the moonlight seems to dim itself, settling into a muted silver that wraps everything in a softer glow. You walk slowly, letting the silence deepen around you. There is no breeze here, only the quiet presence of the night. It feels like a place that exists between breaths, steady, unhurried, patient. The path broadens as you continue. Shallow pools mirror the sky, their surfaces smooth and still, reflecting the moon as a faint, blurred circle. When you step near them, the water doesn't ripple right away. It waits a moment, then responds with the gentlest movement, as if it senses your arrival and chooses to follow at its own pace. The air holds a soft warmth that settles against your skin, not the glow of fire, not the chill of the sea. Something quieter, like the memory of warmth rather than warmth itself. You pause in the middle of this stillness. Your breath moves easily. The weight you left behind in the tower feels distant, like a story you once carried, but can now place on a high shelf. Nothing calls you forward. Nothing urges you to stop. You simply stand there, held by the quiet, knowing there is more to see when you're ready to take the next gentle step. You take another slow step, and the quiet deepens in a way that feels almost physical, like stepping into a room lined with soft cloth, where every sound arrives already softened. Even your breath seems to settle differently here, moving in and out of your chest with an ease that surprises you. The ground curves gently downward, leading toward a wide, open space shaped by time and wind. A thin band of light drifts across it, not from the moon above, but from the faint glow that lingers in the mist behind you. It's a reminder of where you've been, not a call to turn back. You walk toward the center of the clearing. Here, the earth feels warm beneath your feet, warmed not by fire or sun, but by the simple stillness holding this part of the island. Small stone rest in the grass, arranged in loose circles, worn smooth by countless nights, just like this one. They don't form symbols. They don't point anywhere. They simply lie where they've always been, keeping quiet company with whoever finds their way here. A soft breeze rises, not strong enough to move your coat, just enough to brush past your face like a thoughtful hand. It carries no scent, no sound, only the kind of calm that feels earned rather than given. You inhale slowly, letting your shoulders settle. The cliff, the lantern tower, the mist. It folds gently into the background, becoming part of a wider quiet. You realize you're breathing easier than when you arrived, as if crossing the veil allowed something inside you to unclench without effort. Ahead, the land slopes gently toward a smooth outcrop of stone overlooking the sea. Its surface glows faintly under the muted light, a steady place to rest before the night carries you into deeper calm. There's no hurry to reach it. You simply walk in its direction, each step lighter than the last, carried by the island's quiet acceptance and the steady, unbroken breath of the sea beyond. You follow the gentle slope toward the quiet stone outcrop. The sound of the sea grows softer with each step, rising and falling like a long, steady breath, waiting to meet your own. The air carries a warm hush here, the kind that settles over a place that has seen many nights just like this. Quiet, patient, unhurried. Behind you, the path through the mist fades into the silver dark, leaving only the curve of the land and the calm of the ocean ahead. The stone glows faintly under the muted moonlight, offering a place to rest without asking anything in return. This is where your journey slows, and where the night begins to hold you a little closer. Outro begins when you finally sit down and let the island carry the rest for you. You settle onto the smooth stone, its surface warm from the stillness of the night. The sea spreads out before you in long silver waves that rise and fall with patient ease. Each one arrives with the softest sound, a gentle hush that reaches your ears only after it has already begun to fade. You breathe with it, slow, steady, unforced. Inhale as the tide draws back. Exhale as it returns to shore. The rhythm is simple, ancient, and kind. Around you, the island grows quieter still. The grass lies motionless in the breeze. The pools beneath the muted moon remain calm and unbroken. The air rests lightly on your skin, carrying the faint scent of salt and stone warmed by the night. You close your eyes. The last shapes of the world soften. The horizon blurs into a single silver line, then melts into the darkness behind your eyelids. There is nothing left to reach for, nothing left to carry, only the slow comfort of the sea and the steady weight of the ground beneath you. Your breath settles into a gentle drift, rising and falling like the tide at your feet. The night folds itself around you in warm, quiet layers. Thoughts loosen, one by one, drifting farther away with each wave's patient return. You rest there, held by the island's calm, wrapped in the softness of the hour. The story fades into the hush of the sea. The sea fades into the rhythm of your breath, and your breath carries you into sleep, slowly, quietly, easily. The night remains beside you, steady as the tide, and you drift